I hope so you are having a great time. My name is Victor Lake. I am a management consultant and I'm mostly working with different organizations and also with people like helping to improve the performance of the organization, and also to the people working like with the key indicators like KPIs and like key success factors, and also like working on like return on investment, like how actually we can create a higher output in different kind of resources. So this is just like brief introduction, and I'm actually working with Cluevest. Cluevest is a management consulting firm, and it provides the management consulting and also financial consulting, and also providing services related to the business controlling and also like business strategy creation and execution. So today we are going to talk in more and even also like the organization development with the Cluevest. Today we are going to talk a very important topic in businesses. It is actually the very important aspect of the business management, and I really want to bring it up most specifically to our followers and also to the general public, right? Because this is very important. So we are going to talk the most specifically like the importance of liquidity in this tutorial or video, whatever it is. So we are going to dig deep into the liquidity, what it is and what kind of liquidity the types are, and why the liquidity is important in businesses and even like in other institutions, and how actually we can improve this, because this is a very big challenge we face in mostly our customers, and then we try to find the right strategies, because not every situation is same, and not even like you can apply the same strategy for everywhere. This is not going to work, but at least we are going to see like different types of strategies, like how we can apply them to improve the liquidity. So actually business management is not an art. It is actually is a science. It's a systematic process. If you really follow and apply the right strategies in any given situation, and it helps you to become better in business management, or it helps you actually to solve the different business problems. And liquidity is a very important aspect of the business management or financial management as well, and it plays a very important role in businesses. So if we do not manage the liquidity of the businesses, it really impacts the businesses, most importantly the short term, like to paying the short term expenses, but also the businesses long term strategy, or long term vision, or long term financial goals. Because if you cannot survive in the short term, you are not going to succeed even in the long term. So this is a very important aspect. And the most important thing, that most of the business problems which you will see, whatever the problem is, but you will end up is the problem with the budget, or problem with the liquidity, or problem with the payment, and this actually is a poor financial management. And liquidity is actually the very core actually to managing the finances, or to managing the businesses and even succeeding in the long term. So this is really very good important topic, and I like summarize it in a very good way, like where you are going to get a lot of value in this tutorial. And let's talk first like how the businesses work, because mostly we make it really too much complex, like what the business is, or what the organization is, and how actually we are going to run it. So very important thing in businesses is you have a revenues, like you have a sales and you have revenues, and then you have expenses, because there is a cost of goods sold, and there is also like so many other expenses which are not related to the direct sales, but these are related actually to give the services to the or deliver your products and services. So there are expenses which you need to manage, and there are also most important aspect of the business is like operating assets, because this is actually you are going to need actually to deliver your products or services to your customers, and they are going why I'm talking these important aspects is because this is really going to help you to understand the financial management, also going to help you to understand the liquidity, and why you need to actually to manage the liquidity, because if you are not going to pay your expenses, you are not going to be able to deliver actually your products or services, because this is actually part of actually delivering your products or your services. And there are a lot of expenses which are related to your product or your services, depending on your industry or business line, or what kind of business you are doing. If it is manufacturing, then it's going to have a lot of operating assets you're going to need. For example, you're going to need raw material, you're going to need inventory, you are going to need office space where you can do actually manufacturing, and then you're going to also need maybe some kind of copyrights or patents, and you are probably you're going to also need some kind of equipment or machinery actually to do your manufacturing. And these are actually operating assets. And then you are also going to need some kind of maybe people who are working, and you will need to pay their compensations or salaries or bonuses, whatever it is. So this is actually the operating assets. You are going to need them on the ongoing basis actually to keep your business running. So these actually are everything I'm talking about. This is actually short term, like the continuous process, day by day, month by month, to keep going and to deliver your products or services. And if you are not going to manage your expenses or operating assets, are not going to buy inventory timely, are not going to repair your, for example, equipment or machinery timely, you are not going to actually to manufacture. I'm just like giving this time the example of the manufacturing, but it can be any business line and any kind of business. So you are not going to be able to deliver your product or services. So it means your business is broken. Your business is not in a position to deliver your product or services to the customers. And if it's not able to deliver the products or services, it is going to damage the main line of the business, that is revenue. So revenue is not going to coming in, so it is going to problem the whole, like which I was talking just like before. Like if you are not able to manage your business in the short term, like the ongoing payments or ongoing expenses, you are not able actually to succeed with your long-term business goals or long-term financial goals, or to succeed with your vision or whatever it is. So this is like the very I gave you the very brief introduction, like how the businesses work. So this is how businesses work. Now you can extend it in dig deep, and you can do actually go forever, but this is the main like how the businesses work: revenue, expenses, and operating assets. If you really can manage these things, you can you can actually succeed with your business or your client business or your employer business, whatever like kind of relationship you have. So now we are going to talk first I want to just like give you a little bit overview about the presentation structure, because this is going to help you actually. Then we are digging deep, so actually we can navigate and we can actually see where we are. It is going to really help to follow along. So I divided this presentation into three segments. First, we're going to dig a little bit, talk about the understanding of the liquidity. I gave already a little bit idea about how businesses work. This was actually part of the understanding the liquidity. But we're going to talk a little briefly more about the liquidity, and then after this we are going to talk about the importance of liquidity, because we really need to understand why it is important, how big role it plays in the businesses. And then in the third, we are going to talk some strategies which actually we can use to improve the liquidity. So it is really good. Actually I structured it really in a very good way, so you get all the good stuff in this presentation, like how actually you are going to improve the liquidity. And then you can go right there, either you are working for any employer or you are a consultant like me or like other people. You can apply these strategies for your clients and actually can get results. And I'm talking this practically, which actually I do and I have done many times with different businesses, most specifically like the past in COVID-19 pandemic. Almost all the businesses has the same problem. It was the liquidity, like how we are going to pay our expenses, and this was a very big problem. So this is why this topic is really, really important, and I want to bring it up, because if you really master these skills, like to manage the liquidity, to manage the business short-term expenses, then you can succeed with the business. And it is very, very important skill. If you are a consultant and if you are a finance professional, it is a very core part of the cash flow, of the financial management. So let's dive in. Now we have a presentation structure, we can follow along, and then we can actually get some good learning from this, hopefully, which can be helpful for you. So first, a little bit more about understanding the liquidity. It's actually like your ability to convert your short-term assets into like a cash, like your ability to pay your short-term expenses. So this is all about liquidity, like how businesses are equipped to turn its assets into the cash, like a current assets, a short-term asset, which can be turned into the cash, because businesses has short-term expenses, which I talked even like before, like when I was giving the overview, like how businesses work. And if the businesses has the ability to turn its assets into cash quickly, more specifically like current assets, then if the businesses have a good liquidity, it means like businesses can meet their short-term expenses, and at the same time, if they can succeed now, I mean like a short term, they can succeed in the long term as well. So this is a very simple philosophy, I think. So there are two types of the liquidity, just like two kind of definitions. Some people think one is better, some people say like the other is better, but I want to just like give you overview, then we can see like which one is better, depending on the situation, again, depending on the business line, and depending on the market conditions and a lot of other things. So first is there is a current liquidity. It is simply like your current assets, and you need to divide this by current liquidity. It's like how much actually we owe, or how much actually we need to pay, and how much actually currently our assets are. And our current assets include, for example, cash, account receivables, inventory, and these kind of like financial short-term investments, which can be easily and quickly can be turned into cash, and these are like current assets. And current liabilities, which you need to pay like in less than 6 months, I mean within a year. So this is called your current liabilities, mostly called account payables, your debt payments. You need to buy inventory, and you need to pay the payrolls. So these are like current liabilities that you need to pay ongoing basis. This is same concept which I talked, be like how businesses work, and this is it's the same, like you have a current liability which ongoing you need to pay for to keep your business running, for to keep your game running. Actually, I mostly say when I'm talking with the owners. So and another which is quick liquidity is same concept. Don't make it confuse, or don't make it like too much lengthy or confusing. It's just like a little bit more conservative. Actually, the quick liquidity is like how quickly like you can turn your current assets into cash, and only here you need to take into consideration is like you take away the inventory, because you cannot turn inventory into cash in a very quick manner, or it's not easy. You can sell inventory very fast and turn it into cash, and depending on the inventory type, and depending on the market conditions, and depending also your type of business or where you are. So you are probably not in a good it's not good to sell the inventory than sell the end product. So it's a more conservative if you take away the inventory and then see the current assets, and how and what what's the ability of the business to turn current assets into the cash, and then it is really going to help the businesses to meet the current liability. So I mostly use this conservative approach depending about the market conditions, but also I also want to always on the safe side when I'm working with different clients and different institutions, because it's really very important, more specific for our clients, more specific for us as a consultant, as a professional, because we really want to be on the conservative side, and we always take into consideration and always a little bit more cushion to be on the safe side, but because it's really best for our clients, because we really are focused on creating the results and actually to be on the secure side than facing any other issues or problems, because if you can succeed in the short term by applying the right strategies, you can succeed in the longer term. But depending on the situation, again, you can take into consideration the inventory, or you can take it away. It depends also on the business line. It also depends how you measure, but I usually use the quick way, like more conservative approach. So just like giving you some brief introduction, like what the liquidity is, because if you understand what it is about, then we can actually see like how we can actually, what are the strategies we can use to improve our current assets, what are the strategies we can use to improve our cash, what are the strategies we can use to lower our short-term expenses, what are the strategies we can use to manage the inventory, because inventory is going to take a lot of working capital. So how we can manage this, what are the strategies we are going to use which is going to help to lower our cost for inventory, and then we can actually to improve our financial condition, our liquidity, our current assets. So this is actually how if you see each aspect of these different things, then it is going to help us actually to improve these to improve the liquidity, and also to manage these different kind of assets and different kind of liabilities, both sides, like cash outflow and cash inflow. So let's talk the next step, which is next is like importance of liquidity. So now we're going to talk a little bit more about why it is important actually to manage the liquidity. First of all, as I explained when I was talking about how the businesses work, I talked about like your business has ongoing obligations or expenses which we need to pay. If we do not pay, we are not going to be we are not able to deliver our products or services to our customers. It means business is damaged or broken. So this is same like for example, I talked about if you are in a manufacturing and your equipment or your machinery need or repair, and you cannot, or you do not have a fund, you are not going to be able to have for manufacturing. And if you are not able to buy inventory, you are not be able actually to produce the end product. And if you are not be able to pay the payrolls, you are not able to have the people which are actually going to do the manufacturing. So if even for example, if let's say electricity, if you are not paying the electricity or other utilities, maybe you are and it's shut down, it's broken out, then it's not going to work. So these are all actually the short-term obligations, like ongoing basis, continuous basis. If we are unable to manage the business obligations, it is going to impact, and this directly relates your business ability to pay the short-term expenses, the liquidity, how much current assets we have to manage our current liabilities. This is same we talked about in the previous slide, what the liquidity is about. And second, the importance of the liquidity, we are going to talk in more detail in the next slides. I'm just like giving you some brief here, so just like building your foundation, or just like making some clarity in different kind of concepts, because I knew when I was working with different clients, so they do not have a like because most business owners really are not financial managers. They really focus on different kind of things, and they just need the right people which actually can work with the things. So next is you need a financial step. You need to have to manage the liquidity is actually for the financial stability, and it looks very simple word, but let me give you some more explanation. Financial stability is very, very important in every business, because if you are financially stable, you can focus on the business, you can focus on the revenue, you can focus on the customer, you can focus on the customer retention, you can focus on the customer lifetime value, you can focus on the long-term vision of the business, you can focus on the long-term financial goals of the business, you can focus on how actually we are going to take this business from 1x to 5x, you can focus on how we are going to grow, what are the growth strategies are, and how we are going to apply, and which strategy we are working now. I mean, there are a lot of things. The business is really very much complex. It's a big science and big game, depending on the people who are playing this. So if you are now, I gave you like too many things all in one in one chart, but the financial stability if you have a liquidity problem, then you're going to work on the liquidity. how we are going to solve this problem. And depending on the situation and depending on the market condition, it can take up a lot of resources, a lot of time, because I have worked with these kind of things with different customers. I know, like, it's really very challenging, and it takes a lot of resources, and sometimes it's really like a kind of stress, because you cannot focus on the things if you have like a payroll coming on in 10 days and you have no cash, and it's very like a very stressful situation, and you do not be there, or you do not want your employer be there, or you do not want your client be there. And that's why I'm talking about this. Financial stability is very important aspect, and this is actually the liquidity is important. The first very thing you need to do is to secure the short term your obligations, to secure, like, see, do you have the current assets that meet your current obligations or current liabilities. And I already talked about the business long-term success, because you can only focus on the long term if you have a mind peace in the short term, if you have the solution for the short term, and then you can focus on the long term. So business long-term success is all about the short-term success. You can only succeed in the long term if you can succeed in the short term. So let's talk a little bit more in more detail about the importance of liquidity. I'm going to talk some points here. First one is handling unexpected expenses, and the second is opportunities for growth, and third, managing cash flow, and the fourth one is building trust and credibility, and the fifth one, financial stability and risk management. So let's talk one by one for each one, so then we have a little more understanding about the importance of the liquidity and how actually it plays a role in businesses. The very first thing, handling unexpected expenses. The idea of the liquidity or the current assets is actually you should have more current assets and your current liabilities. Actually, you need to have a buffer, or you need to have a cushion actually for any unexpected expenses. It can happen, for example, if you are in manufacturing, for example, manufacturing machine need a repair, or something happened, or with a building, or something happened with with any your inventory or something like this, and you do not have a cushion, a buffer for these basic or for these very important expenses that you really need to manage actually to keep things running, and it is going to affect your business. It is going to affect the long term or the end product or service. So this is very important. Like, you have a buffer or cushion, whatever it is. Actually, you have a cash over our current assets should be greater than your current liabilities, and how greater they are depends about, like, your business line or your business segment, or also the market conditions. It's a lot of complex things, but we are not going to more dig in deep detail. But just like you should have a more buffer, your current assets should be higher than your current liabilities, ideally 1.5 times or 2 times current assets greater than current liabilities. But again, depending on the situation, depending on the market conditions, depending upon your business conditions financially, it can be different. So because if we have unexpected expenses and you do not have a buffer or a cushion in your current assets, then what we are going to need to do, we need to borrow the money actually to solve the problem. For example, if we have if we need a repair for our manufacturing unit or machinery or whatever it is, then for example, if we need to borrow, and depending on the market conditions, maybe we need to pay higher interest rate, and maybe depending on the market conditions, there is a very low even liquidity in the market, so we probably may not be able even to get the funds depending on the conditions of the market, and we need to take these all things into consideration, because cash is king, and you need to have more take into consideration, like you need to have more buffer, you need to have a cushion on this, because you do not want to pay higher interest rate, you don't want to get the debt on the unexpected terms and conditions, or the conditions which really you don't like. But if the market is not in a good shape, you are going to need to pay a very unhealthy expenses for these kind of financing or funding which you need, to manage your short-term or unexpected expenses. So again, short-term affect long-term strategy. I talked this a little bit before. Like if you are unable to manage the short-term game, you cannot play the long-term game. I'm talking about if you cannot succeed with your short-term financial goals, you cannot either succeed with your long-term financial goals. So long-term strategy is highly dependent on your short-term success level. So this is very, very simple. So let's talk about the next step, next point, which is opportunities for growth. And this is very important. Most specifically, if you really are a growth oriented, or if you really have a strategy into place, like you really want to grow your business, and then you should have a cash in hand. Cash in hand means like if the opportunities come in the market, you have the opportunity to bid, you have the opportunity to buy, you have the opportunity to get the things or the opportunities at your home. When I'm talking about the opportunities, it might come opportunity like you can buy another business. It might come opportunity you can get a partnership. You can do a partnership to expand your business or product lines in another market. You can it might be like other supplier or other vendor want to give you discount if you really make a good deal with them. So I mean, opportunities come in the market if you really have first of all, you have a mindset like you are growth oriented, you are opportunist, you want to take the opportunities in the market. And the second is, once you have the mind, and then you have the strategy or the are the things at place. For example, liquidity or cash in hand. So you know, if comes this, I'm going to act. If this comes this, I'm going to act. If happen this, I'm going to act. So then you are growth oriented. So it's called liquidity planning. Cash is king. If you have a cash in hand, you can play, you can buy the right assets, you can buy the right, you can expand the business in the right markets. Then is the right time. I mean, when the opportunities come, and opportunities come in the market always, really, literally. If you have a cash, if you have a money in hand, if you have planned well your liquidity for to be opportunist, for to grow your business, then the opportunities will come. But depending on what is the right opportunity, here you need a business skill, or at least a consultant or advisors where you can work together. So next is managing cash flow. So liquidity is a core part of the cash flow, because mostly you will talk about even like we are specialized in providing the cash flow optimization strategies, and we implement them in different businesses, working along with different finance managers. But I'm talking about here like the liquidity is also a very core aspect of the cash flow. So if making payments on time, and if you are really good like to manage the liquidity, you can make payments on time, and you can avoid late penalties. Because if you're unable to make payments on time, for example, inventory or supply to your vendors, to your suppliers, and if you delay the payments, then it is going to affect, you're going to pay higher penalties, and it is also going to affect your relationships, which we are going to talk maybe in the coming slides as well. So if you have a good liquidity, you can also negotiate better terms, and it's also like it's working on the other side, like cash outflow, like how we can reduce this. And if you have a really good liquidity, you can actually to negotiate better terms. Like if I pay on time, if I pay excess this time, can you do this 10% or can you do 15% discount? Like I do all the time, and I also do the same negotiation all the time for my clients, actually to lowering the expenses, whatever it is possible. But you should have the right fundamentals, and then you have the right team at place, which actually is really, really good to play. And this comes actually with experience. And we are really good actually to play these strategies, different kind of strategies to lower our customers' expenses, and this is really good for them, and we are super happy for this. And let's talk the next, building trust and credibility. I was talking about this because in the previous point also a little bit about, because if your ability to pay on time directly links your reputation and credibility in the market. Because one thing you need to take into consideration is very important: your business is not important at all. I mean, your business is important not for you, but you think like your business is important by taking into consideration your stakeholders. And this, most of the time people have this not into the clear Clarity are not the clear understanding how actually the business work, because your business cannot work if you do not have right people to work, because your business can only succeed if you have the right conditions, if you have the right circumstances, if you have the right team, if you have a right suppliers, if you have a right stakeholders, if you have a right vendors, if you have a right people which can stand up for your business, can deliver products or services for your raw material, like for in your production. So business is your ability actually to manage these all resources. This is what I'm talking about. This is actually the resources management, but this resources management is all about the ability, the financial management. If you do not have the ability to manage your finances, you cannot manage these resources, because market is highly competitive and market is also highly sensitive. Because if you are not able to pay your obligations to the suppliers or your vendors, this is very important. What I'm talking about here is now, because if you are unable to meet your financial obligations, you're not able to pay your vendors or suppliers, it is going to impact their business. I'm talking about this, my practical experiences from years. I'm in business from last 20 years, and that's why I'm giving you these all things, because if you are unable to manage your short-term obligations, it is going to impact the whole supply chain, the long line. It is going to affect many people, and it can actually, depending on the payment level, it can actually impact the whole economy. This is very serious. So you need to take into consideration how you are managing your finances. It's not impacting your supply chain, and it is where you have a right strategy at place to manage your resources, so you can deliver your end product and service to the customers. So this is very important. That's why I'm saying your business is not important. You need to also manage, see, like other businesses around you, the people around you are really good, and you are very good to manage them, because if you can manage them, it's a part of your business, it's part of your business management. So it's part of your financial management, it's part of your liquidity management, it's part of your having a higher customer success rate. So it's a long process. I'm just like trying to be concise and trying to give you my wisdom and from the years of experiences, like why it is important actually to manage the liquidity and how it plays a very important role in your relationships. Because another thing which I want to talk about is a better credit terms. If you have a really good relationships, if you have a really good reputation in the market, you can get better credit terms. And also another thing is you can attract new potential suppliers. New potential suppliers or people will come to do business with your business only if you have a really good reputation or credibility. Otherwise they will avoid, and it will be very difficult for you to attract the right people, even the right employees or people which you want to attract, and which can deliver a good products and services to your customers. So it's a long chain. Trust and credibility is a very important thing in business, and it all depends about your short-term financial management, which is called liquidity, which is called cash flow management. And then you can use the right strategy for cash flow optimization. We're going to talk a little bit more detail in this when we're talking about the right strategies to manage the liquidity. And again, it depends upon the business, the market conditions, and many other things, and there you need really like a good professionals, but I'm trying to give you the maximum what I can do. Okay. Next is financial stability and risk management. This is very important thing, because we all know like there are the financial disruptions in the market, there are economic downturns, and you need to have some kind of cushion to manage the liquidity. We should not forget the COVID-19. We should not forget the war, the Ukraine war with Russia, and how it impacts the businesses. We should not forget the inflation, higher inflation, and its impacts on the supply chain. So I'm throwing out these all practical examples and how it already has impacted many businesses, and I'm talking from my experiences while working with the clients and with the customers and trying to solve these all problems on the real terms. And I'm giving you this all because economic downturns or financial instability, market volatility, these all impacts your ability to pay your short-term expenses. What happens if the inflation go up? what happens if the supply chain is broken and the things are not coming. I'm giving you this example. This is a practical example. When there was COVID and the things was the businesses which was actually importing, they was not able to get their products on time. It was almost like 19 or 120 days delay, and it's practical. I'm giving you this everything because I have worked through these problems with my customers, with my clients. So so then your ability to manage, how you are going to manage supply. Even some businesses, like during the COVID-19, they actually changed their product manufacturing formulas or things like, if X is not available, how we are going to do this, how we are going to have our end product delivered, what is the right solution. So here comes R&D, here comes innovation, here comes the crisis management team, here comes the consultant team, the team which actually is proactive, which see like how things are going, where the supply chain is broken, how we are going to manage. Okay, we need this, then we need extra cash, and we need to have a high liquidity, and this is how we need to manage. So I mean, these are practical things. So if financial stability is very and risk management is very important part of the business. If you really are very good in these things, like to managing the risk, like if there is a disruption in the market, and should we have the financial stability, should we have the proper risk management, can we deal with this, or we are going to broke or die or sit and wait, like what is going to happen now. So this is very important part. The liquidity is a very important part of the financial stability of the business. Financial stability is a very important part of fundamental for your business long-term success. You can only work on the growth opportunities or long-term success if you really are very good and have the right foundation at place. That is called liquidity, financial management. Now, if you can manage the current, we can manage the long-term as well. So let's talk about the now some the third part of the presentation, which I'm where I want to throw out some more strategies, like how actually we can improve the liquidity. We are talking about in real scenarios, it's important what it is and how it impacts the businesses. I threw out my wisdom, like the practically how it's happening in the market and why it is important, and why actually you or your employer or you as a business really need to have the right people as your team, or have a consultant like us or like me in the team, so have the right wisdom or team as a place to really deploy the right strategies, so you can really have the high financial stability to manage the short term. Because if we can manage the short term, we can manage the long term. We can succeed with the vision or our long term financial goals. So let's talk about some strategies to improve the liquidity. We are going to talk some powerful strategies. Yes, this strategy, this is just like I mentioned some basic points which I did even like in the previous slides, just like to give you the overview, like why we need to improve the liquidity, and we talked about like what we need to understand, like what is the liquidity. We should have a proper understanding about the liquidity, and then what we need to do is we need to apply the right methods to actually to improve the liquidity. And there are some powerful strategies which we are going to talk in the coming presentation, and these are the strategies which we are going to talk. And the number one is like the very first thing is like the cash flow optimization or cash flow forecasting and planning. The number one, like how we because if we really can very good, I'm most of the time I'm using Excel and actually trying to forecasting and planning the things, like for actually to improve these things, like cash flow forecasting and planning is part of actually the budgeting as well. So you need to have a really very good cash flow forecasting. We're going to talk in the next slide. I just want to give you here some basic points here, like just like to follow along. And the next is efficient inventory management, and the third is debt management, and fourth cash flow optimization, and the last one access to alternative funding sources. So these are some strategies which we can use actually to improve the liquidity in businesses. And again, as I mentioned before, it depends upon the market conditions, it depends upon your business conditions, it also depends like your industry, business type, and your also the customers, like the business conditions, how the things, the situation looks like, and how your balance sheet looks like, how your revenues looks like, because depending on these different drivers, I would say drivers, we can use the different strategies. Again, here comes like you really need a pro people or consultants which really know the in and out, because it's really it looks very simple, but it's not. It's really like they have the right people which actually can see the things which you can't see, or which your employees can't see, because most of the time we are working with the finance managers, and they are actually the finance guys, or they are finance professionals, but the outside expertise really helps them to see the things from different perspectives. So that's why I'm saying it's really good to work with the professionals. So let's talk one by one these strategies, and then see like what we can do actually to improve the liquidity. The number one is cash flow forecasting and planning. Again, most of the time the history tells the present, or history also tells the future, and even present tells the future. How you're doing today directly shows you can see like how it will look like the future. And same is with your cost, like you can see like how the expenses has been last year, how the expenses can be the next year, how much sales has been last year, how many sales can be next year. And you can also of course can index with the inflation, and also taking into consideration the growth level depending on your marketing strategies or marketing plan. It's a whole big game, but also I'm telling you like some drivers which you take into consideration when you are doing a forecasting, depending on the historical sales and also the projected sales, and see like how the things look like depending on your marketing team, and what are the things they are doing, which kind of sales channels you are using, which sales channels are effective, which sales channel has higher sales last year, which sales channel has the potential to improve this year. Now I'm digging deep in each thing, which sales channel has a potential to improve this year, and what are the strategies from the marketing team has applied to this sales channel, and how this is going to impact, and what is the level of like a conversion rate in this sales channel. I'm giving you some like the things like the practical how actually you are going to work with the forecasting or planning and to project the sales. And next is you need to also plan the liquidity needs. First we talk about the sales. It's all about like the cash inflow, like how much money is actually coming in. And now we are going to also do the planning the liquidity needs, like how much cash actually we need, how many people we need to deliver our products and services, how much money we need to plan our inventory, how much money we need to keep aside for our unexpected expenses, how much money we need to to pay our utilities. So I mean, you need to, these are all cost drivers, and you need to take into consideration bite by bite or one by one, and see like how much liquidity you need. And when you are planning your liquidity or short-term current liabilities, you need to plan like at least for 1 year, and see like does it match with your current assets, or does it match with how much cash inflow you have. And then you can take up proactive measures, because if you if you are really good in forecasting and planning, if you really can see like how much cash is coming, like revenue or sales, and how much we need, then you can really take some proactive measures. For example, you can decrease your expenses, or you can actually manage the cost. Some costs you can postpone. You do not need to have those expenses right now. For example, if you need to buy some machinery, if you need something, you can delay this, for example, next year, or at least 6 months. You can see like how we can do this, and maybe you can delay any purchase, maybe like 8 or 9 months, and then you do credit agreement with the supplier, like bargaining, like okay, we are going to buy this in month 9, but we are going to pay this in month 12 or month 13, to take the payment on the next year. Like so it's all about the part of the strategy, like how you are going to manage the liquidity, and how proactive measures you can take with the payment terms, and also on the expenses side. So this is actually part of the cash flow forecasting and planning, and it's a very good exercise, but at the same time it really requires a little very good skills in different things, and you need to have the right people. Your finance team are really good to get some consultants, like you can contact us as well, so they work along and see like how we can improve the liquidity. And next we are going to talk about efficient inventory management, because here this is very important, because mostly business I have seen this and I have worked with different clients, and it's very important because your inventory is actually a working capital. The more inventory you buy, the more capital you are going to need first of all to purchase. And then another thing which people forgot is actually our managers forgot is when you buy more inventory. I'm giving you the practical because this is really very interesting thing, most specifically for the manufacturing or the production businesses which work with the production or the manufacturing. If you buy a higher level of inventory, then you are going to need more space. More space means more rent, yes. And if you have your own property, then still you have a many costs. Let me explain you. Then you are going to need more electricity to manage these locations or this property where actually you are holding inventory. And another thing is you are going to need to have a higher security expenses, because you need to have a security to look after your inventory, or to look after your location or place. Then another thing, this is all practical which I'm giving you because I work with these different drivers when I'm working with our customers. And another thing is if you have a higher level of inventory, then you are going to have a higher level of inventory obsolete. There will be more wear and tears, more inventory will go broke, more inventory will not be able to use in your production, and it will be just like wastage of money. So I'm giving you these all things because this is really very important things, because we really need to manage the inventory. And here are a lot of strategies actually which we use as a consultant to see like how we can manage it. And there are a lot of practical strategies in the market, like you can just like buy just in time inventory, how much actually you need during the production, so you can so you do not need to have a space to manage the inventory. You do not need to have pay your electricity bills or security and have a lower inventory obsolete or wear and tears. So this is really good. And also the other thing is the reorder level is very good practice actually to manage or to optimize your inventory level, how much reorder level you need. Some finance managers really are very good in this. Some finance managers really need some help from me side or from other consultants which really can see the things from different eyes or from their experience, like how we can actually to optimize the inventory and lower the working capital and also lower the expenses. Like these are all things which I talked about, these are all expenses, and this is actually the ineffective business management, or this directly impacts your liquidity. And this is a very good strategy actually. The mostly when consultants go in any business, for example me, I first see the cash flow and see like what are the things we can do here to actually to lower our expenses, and how we can actually to lower the working capital we need in business. So this is some strategies for inventory management. This is very good practice for manufacturing or production businesses. If you are working in any production or manufacturing business, this is something you really need to take into consideration when you go to work next day. Next talk, debt management. Debt is a very good strategy in business, but again depending on how much is the debt level, and again depending on the market conditions and how much interest you are paying and what kind of business condition you have. So again this is very complex, but at the same time it is very interesting to have access to the credit market. But here what you can do as a finance manager or the team or the part of the finance team, what you need to do is actually to see if you can do some kind of finance restructuring to consolidate different debts into one debt, and then you can negotiate better interest rate. And I mean, this I do all the time for my clients. I'm just like sometimes I'm fighting or negotiating with different banks, because you are not married with a one bank. I mean, your business is not married with one bank. Your business is not married with one creditor. You can go out and see different opportunities in the market if you really reach out to different credit providers or different banks or different financial institutions and work alone and see the things from different perspectives. You 90% of the time you really can lower your debt expenses by applying the right strategy. It's called like debt restructuring or financial restructuring, depending on the situation, again depending on your team, or depending on like which kind of people you have along you as a consultant, which really can see the things which you cannot see, or your finance team cannot see. So but this is something you really need to take into consideration to improve the liquidity. If you can lower your expenses if you can lower your interest expenses, it can help you to improve your liquidity. And the next, let's talk about cash flow optimization. And this is very important thing, and this is even more important when you do not have access to the credit market, or when you see the cash is low in business. And you can see this if you really have a good finance team, and then you can see like how we can improve the cash flow. And here we need to work on the two sides. One is cash inflow and the other is cash outflow, and we need to apply that strategy on the both sides to do the actual cash flow optimization. What are the strategies we can use to have more cash inflow right now, today, or within a week, or within 2 weeks? Because this is very important when you really are working with a with a cash burn rate, or you really are trying to actually to manage the cash flow for if you really make a big payment to buy any business. I'm talking about this when it's about merger and acquisition. So this is also plays very important role. I'm giving you this everything because I have worked these all things in different situations. So you can see like what are the things we can do actually to have cash inflow right now, within a week, within 2 weeks. What can we do here? And most of the time is actually to seeing the payment terms, like with your account receivables. What can we do to get the payments right now? Most of the time you can maybe say 5% discount if you pay today, or 6% discount if you pay tomorrow, or 7% if you pay within a week. Because if you go different strategies, I will try to get the account receivable right now. So this is like how much cash you can get cash in now. And second, of course, your sales team. Sell now, pay now, and just like sell and on cash right now, so you can work on the other side, your sales team, like get the cash in like right now, giving maybe some discount, working like cross sales, or working with different kind of strategies, like to pushing the same products to the existing customers, or putting more volume and selling, getting more higher sale and cash right now. So this is our cash inflow strategies. Account receivable are more sales, and then cash outflow is actually how we can delay the cash outflow. What can we do here? We can do like our account payable, our suppliers, our vendors, where we can like negotiate better credit agreements. But always, I have talked before, always take into consideration your team, because your creditors, your suppliers, your vendors, these all people are your part of the team. It's part of the resources management, because mostly businesses do not take into consideration, because they are their resources and they broke the relationships, and it's not good. Then you cannot succeed in the long term. And I have very bad examples where businesses fail because they actually were unable to manage these all things. So how we can lower or stop the cash outflow? And here you need to work with your creditors, with your suppliers, with your vendors, and to negotiate a better credit terms. Most of the time it is possible if you really are a good negotiator, if you are really good to come along, or to bring along the people and bring them and make them part of the vision, and make them part of the problem. Because part of the solution. So they really work like, this is our problem, this is our vision, this is our movement, let's make it work. We can do in this way. So cash outflow, what we can do this here. So, and another thing you can do is like cost controlling, expenses management. Most of the time, many things you can actually cut, like cancel the contracts, and at the same time, most of the expenses which you need to do now or this year or 6 months, you can postpone them. So this is all about cash flow optimization, what we can do. And another thing very important which we just talked about, which was like a supply. In the previous point, we talked about like how we can lower our working capital. So these are all part of strategy of the cash flow, right? What we can do to have a cash inflow right now and to lower the cash outflow. So this is part of the liquidity as well. And the next is what we can see here is like how we can access to different alternative funding sources. And this is it's not going to come on a free basis, because if you're going to get any kind of funding or financing from the market, it is going to have some kind of cost. But if it can solve your short-term problem with the liquidity, it's win-win, because if we succeed with the short term, we can focus on the long term. We can focus on the most important problems of the business, or the most important challenges of the business, that is actually to get more sales, actually to have a higher revenue. And these are things are very, very important, are to manage the resources, our suppliers, our employees, because this is your key part of your business to deliver the end products and services. So if we really can get funding or financing by using these different kind of funding sources, it can solve our liquidity problem, but it is going to have a little bit cost depending on the market conditions, depending on your business condition and where you stand financially. But some kind of things which we can use a short-term funding sources, line of credits, factoring, asset-based financing, and even revenue-based financing. If you really are established business and you have a really good revenue and history, and people can see this, financial institutions are there very good institutions out there which can really finance based on your revenue. So there are different strategies which can you use, and also reach out to the right people. This is very important. You reach out to the right funding institution which really has which is really specialized in some specific thing, and more importantly, they have a cash in hand, or they have a reserves actually they are still financing. Most of the time it is possible, but again I want to be on the secure side, because it also depends on market conditions. It also depends on your business conditions, how financially stable you have and how good the history is of the business. And another thing which I want to talk about is the public grants and subsidies. Your business, because there are a lot of subsidies, or there are a lot of grants available in the market, depending on the market conditions, depending on where your business exists, and depending on which industry you are, and also depending on your business size. So different kind of grants and subsidies are available. For example, for small businesses, different grants and subsidies are available for different kind of businesses which are in specific segment or sector. Different kind of grants and subsidies are available for businesses which are in rural areas. There are different kind of grants and subsidies are available for businesses which are hiring some specific people. So there are a lot of things you can do or play around. Again, I'm saying this because you need the right people in the team which really have these specialized skills, and they have this all information, and they are specialized, and they have the right skills, and they see like what we can do here to bring in more money, to bring in more subsidies, to bring in more grants actually to improve the liquidity of the businesses. Because this is just like in COVID-19, 2019 to 2021, there was a lot of like subsidies and grants in the market, most especially coming from the government side and state side, and from federal and state level. And it was all about like to actually how, because it was a very big issue for the businesses with the liquidity, and the problem is like how we can keep the businesses going, and how actually we can lower the employee layoff, and we can protect our employees. And again, here some people were really very good, the people who were very good to apply everything, and they have the right team or they have the right consultants to work with, and they were very quick. And some people were a little bit delay, and some people just was unable to manage, and then things happen. And also it was a very big crisis. I'm just gave the bad example maybe, but all the time in market, depending on the market condition and depending on the business condition and business nature and business type and business size, etc. So there are public grants and subsidies which you can look around, and again you need to have the right people in the team which can see this and can help you to improve the liquidity and to improve your financial condition, which can help you to focus more on your long-term financial strategy. So this was all. We talked about the importance of liquidity, why it is important in business, and actually why it plays an important role in your business management. We talked about this because liquidity is really very important aspect of any business management. If you really can manage the liquidity, if you can really manage the short term, you can succeed with the long term. You really should have the ability to fulfill your obligations, like a short-term obligations, and it is part of your long-term success. If you succeed now, if you succeed in 1 year, you can succeed in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years. It's part of your long-term success strategy. So in the end, it's presentation is from about the business management, and liquidity management or financial management is one part of the business management. And the creators and contributors is the Cluevest Management Consulting Forum. Cluevest, you can actually visit our website. It's cluevest.com. And you can actually contact us for our more services if you really, because we really can see the things which your team cannot see, and we can actually help you to take your business to the next level. Good short-term management is about long-term financial success. So, and if you really like our content, if you like this, please subscribe us our on social media channels for more upcoming content, and also like us if you really subscribe us if you really like us. So it would be really good to connect and to be part of the same family. And in the end, thank you very much for your time, and I hope we added a value in your business or in your career, so you can apply the right strategies to improve the liquidity and to succeed in the short term and also in the long term. Thank you very much and have a good day. See you again. Bye.